CNBC TV 18, embarking on a quarter century of excellence.
Stocks resume the rally on Wall Street as optimism remains high following the Fed's dovish pivot. The Nasdaq leads the gains while the S&P 500 is only about 1% away from lifetime highs. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific trade largely lower ahead of Bank of Japan's final rate decision of 2023. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a flat start for the Indian market. Crude rises nearly 2% to around $78 a barrel. Attacks by Houthis on ships in the Red Sea in response to Israel-Hamas war raise fears of supply disruption. The United States has announced a 10-nation Red Sea coalition to prevent any further attacks. Vedanta declares its second interim dividend of the year at 11 rupees a share, while its board will also mull a fundraising today. Sources say that Warburg Pincus affiliate White Iris Investment may sell 3% stake in Apollo Tyres at a floor price of 440 rupees a piece, a 2% discount to Monday's close. And 78 opposition MPs suspended from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha yesterday. This is the highest in a single day in the parliament's history. With this, 92 MPs have been suspended this winter session. Opposition parties were protesting in the parliament, demanding Home Minister Amit Shah's statement on the security breach. Good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are the top headlines that we're tracking this Tuesday morning. There's a lot to get to. But first up on the global markets, the handover has definitely been quite positive from the US. The Asian markets are definitely, however, seeing a little bit of caution. We did mention that there's Bank of Japan's final rate decision for 2023, which is awaited. So ahead of that, maybe there is some caution in the Asian markets. What's leading the losses is the Seng market, like you can see. So it's down over 1%, 1.2% to be precise over there. The Taiwanese index also down around 0.5%. And the other market, which is seeing a pretty significant cut, is the Nikkei index. So that is also down around 0.5%. Actually, that has recovered a little bit right now, but it's still seeing a little bit of red. Pretty much all of the Asian markets, Straits, Kospi, Shanghai are lower as we kick things off. So let's see how the rest of the trading session pans out. But for the open, it's definitely been quite soft across Asia. The implied open for our own markets will also come up for you. It is indicating a very, very flat start right now with just around 12 points in the red in terms of where things could kick off. So that's what's happening across Asia. But let's also talk about the US now, because Wall Street ended Monday's trading session marginally higher. The Dow was little changed at the close, pretty flat like you can see. The S&P 500 was up around 20 points at the end of the trading session, and the Nasdaq finished around 0.5% in the green. Now, what really stood out yesterday was the entire communication sector was the top performer. It led the gain. So the sector as a whole was up almost 2%, 1.9% there for that sector. So that looked quite sharp in yesterday's trading session. But as investors continue to digest the dovish Fed policy decision from last week, here's some important opinion coming in on the policy decision and, their view on how the markets really reacted to this big event. Listen in.
I was confused a bit with was the market just imputing, here's what we want them to be saying? I thought there seemed to be some confusion about how the FOMC even works. We don't debate specific policies speculatively about the future. We vote on that meeting, and we voted at that meeting not to raise rates. We put out an SEP that forecast over next year that the individuals on the FOMC collectively thought conditions are going to not be a recession and inflation is going to be coming down. The market expectation of the number of rate cuts is greater than what the SEP projection is.
They should be always on the lookout for things that are going to go wrong. But it's nice to have them in a position where they can react to the economy going into a darker place. When inflation's high and they have to fight inflation, they sort of leave the unemployment and the growth besides on the side a little bit. They're fighting that fire, and that's where we've been for 2 years.
All right, that is some important opinion coming in. Definitely some caution in terms of, how the markets just ran up completely after that big Fed pivot. But with that, let's move on and bring you the final update on our global market wrap this morning. We have mixed cues coming through from Europe as ECB officials temper rate cut optimism. So the French CAC index down around 28 points. The DAX was down around 100 points at the close. And the FTSE actually saw a little bit of green. So it managed to close around 38 points in the green. Now, the German DAX was under pressure after a survey showed that German business morale had unexpectedly worsened. This was for the month of December. Automakers were also a big drag. So if you take a look at that entire sector, it saw pretty sharp cuts. So, for example, shares of Mercedes-Benz and BMW both shed over 1% after the German government decided to end a program that paid subsidies to buyers of new EVs. So that is what really weighed on all of these auto stocks. What also stood out is a lot of the shipping stocks across Europe gained following attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels and disrupted maritime trade in the Red Sea. So those are some important data points that we're tracking as far as the European markets go. But with that, let's move on and bring you everything that you should track from an India market standpoint. How do all of these global cues really impact us and the stocks to keep on your radar? Today, we have Rima, Mangalam, Hormaz all here with the trade setup. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Rima, let me come to you first. It looks like a very flat start, but take us through what we should track.
Well, indeed, even yesterday was flat, a session of consolidation for the frontline indices. The Nifty gave up 0.2%. The sensex was down 168 points. The Nifty bank saw some profit booking as it ended lower by 275 points. But the party in the mid-caps continued, with the mid-cap index inching higher and closing up with a gain of about 0.2% and a positive advanced decline ratio. Global markets, you spoke about the Nasdaq rallying 0.6%, rallying for the 8th straight session in a low, and the S&P 500, after the gain of about 0.5% yesterday, is about 1.17% away from its life high close. The cue to watch today will be Brent crude prices. We have seen an overnight surge in crude prices, and now Brent is above $78 per barrel after militants attacked vessels in Red Sea, causing rerouting and concerns about supply disruption. We also have the financial Nifty expiry today. 3 new IPOs open. One is Happy Forging, looking to raise about a little more than 1,000 crore rupees. Credo Bank, Mufti Menswear, RBZ Jewelers. The FIs yesterday sold 33 crore in the cash markets, according to the provisional figures, while the DIIs net bought 414 crore in equities. Back to you.
Okay, Rima, thanks a lot for laying out all of those cues for us. But let's also talk about the individual names that we should have on our radar today. Hormaz is here with that entire list. Hormaz, what are you looking at?
Well, starting off with Vedanta, and there is always news flow related to that, and this declared a second interim dividend worth 11 rupees. The record date has been set as the 27th of December, and the board will also be meeting today to consider a fundraising issue as well. Apollo Tyres, where sources are telling CNBC TV 18 that White Iris Investments, which is a Warburg Pincus affiliate, will likely to sell a 3% stake with an option to upsize as well via block deal. The floor price of 440 rupees is a 2% discount to Monday's closing price, and there will be also a 90-day lock-in period post this transaction. Sun Pharma has acquired a 16.7% stake in Lindra Therapeutics for $30 million, and this acquisition is likely to be completed by the end of this month. Devyani International has forayed into the Thailand QSR market with the acquisition of 274 KFC restaurants there. A couple of QIPs that were launched. KPI Green First, they launched a QIP with a floor price of 1,245 rupees, which is a 9.1% discount to Monday's close, and the board will meet on the 21st of December to determine its issue price. Chinese Tech also launched a QIP where the floor price of 2,449 is a 6% discount to Monday's closing price, and the board will meet on the 21st as well to determine the issue price as well. IDFC First Bank has received the RBI approval for its merger with IDFC. JTL Industries, the board has approved the issue of 3 crore preferential shares worth 810 crore rupees. The board has also approved raising 500 crore rupees via a QIP, and these funds will be used to invest in its wholly owned subsidiary and to set up a unit in Maharashtra. And lastly, All Cargo Gati's board will meet on the 21st to consider a fundraising proposal. Back to you.
Okay, Hormaz, thanks a lot for taking us through that entire list of stocks. Let's also talk about how things are looking on the futures end. Mangalam is here with all of that. Mangalam.
Well, yesterday was a pause for breath for our markets, where the Nifty was, marginally flat or marginally lower, if you must, and it was lower by the Nifty bank itself. We saw some profit taking after a big rally. No problems with the broader markets. They outperformed. And also what was holding Nifty's one end was Reliance, which actually did well in yesterday's trading session. So by virtue of its weight, it was supporting the Nifty itself. In terms of cash market flows, we are in that period where, you know, the institutional flows will start thinning out as we move towards the year end. And FII sold about 33 odd crores. What was interesting was in index futures. The FIIs, they bought a total of 16.5 crores. The Nifty Bank was an underperformer, but the data suggests that even in that fall, they bought a lot more in the Nifty Bank. So that's telling you that it is the Nifty Bank which will be in focus, not only in today's trading session, but going forward as well, as its underperformance has waned. So FII buying has still remained intact in the Nifty Bank itself, despite the underperformance of the Nifty Bank. They bought the dip there. It's Nifty Financial Services expiry today, and ahead of that, the FIs have written more calls and covered some puts. So on the way up, we may see some congestion. Just keep an eye out on a couple of levels. On the way up, Nifty 21,500 to 21,600 may be a bit of a congestion zone, because we've seen some call writing at 21,500 and 21,450. But that does not mean there is any less support. At the lower levels, 21,400 would stand as a strong support because of the put writing that we've seen at that level itself. For the Nifty Financial Services, it's likely to be meandering between 21,400 and 21,500. Those are the options most active. It's absolutely in the middle of that range itself. Finally, just keep an eye out on a stock. We have IRCTC. It's seen a lot of long positions being added.
Okay, Mangalam, thanks a lot for taking us through all of that. That is the trade setup as we see it this morning. With that, we're going to get into our first break on the show. But when we return, remember we told you Go First received interest from 3 suitors, including SpiceJet. But is SpiceJet even in a position to be making investments right now? We're going to get you that quick check when we come back. Welcome back. Let's talk about the aviation space now. 3 new suitors, which include SpiceJet, Africa-based Safric Investments, and Sharjah Sky One, have signaled their interest to acquire Go First. Now, this comes nearly a month after the deadline to submit a proposal for the airline ended with no bids. In fact, shares of SpiceJet have been rallying following news that it is among the 3 suitors for Go First. It ended 20% in the green yesterday. But, you know, is SpiceJet even in a position to be making investments when its own house is not in order? My colleague Madiha joins us now. Madiha, can SpiceJet afford to go and buy another airline at this point?
Well, a look at SpiceJet's financial health shows the airline has too much to clean in its own house in the current form before it goes for an expansion. The airline has a negative net worth of 5,600 crores with total liabilities of 12,500 crores, exceeding total assets of 6,900 crores. Its current liabilities stand at 9,200 crores, exceeding current assets of 2,400 crores. SpiceJet is also struggling to make profits and is incurring losses after losses for the last many years. It posted a loss of 1,500 crores in the last fiscal and 250 crores in the first half of this fiscal. The airline had a negative operating cash flow of 150 crores in the first half of this financial year, and on account of its operational and financial position, the airline has deferred payments to various parties, including lessors and other vendors, as well as dues to statutory authorities. Last week, SpiceJet announced plans to infuse to raise funds worth 2,200 crore rupees, but that infusion is yet to materialize. Now, Go First also has huge liability, including an admitted debt of 5,400 crores and other payments to lessors, vendors and employees. Plus, lessors have been pleading before NCLT and Delhi High Court to take possession of the aircraft, without which a revival will be very difficult. So lots of headwinds here for SpiceJet to navigate if it decides to bid for Go First.
All right, interesting to get that health check. Madiha, thanks a lot for that. But with that, let's move on now, because the government is likely to tweak the PLI scheme in 4 to 5 sectors, but no new schemes for now, says the DPIIT Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh. Speaking exclusively to us, he also hinted at more measures to boost electric vehicle penetration, saying that informal discussions are underway on cutting import duties. But he also did add that schemes will not be curated for any single company when asked about the potential entry of Tesla into India. Take a look.
So far, we've received across all of these sectors some 746 applications for PLI. These involve an investment of almost 3.65 lakh crores, out of which, so far, investment of 1.03 lakh crores has already come in across these 14 schemes. Actual production / sales has already reached about 8.6 lakh crores. Actual employment has reached 6.78 lakh persons. Government of India never does, schemes that are curated for any particular company. Whatever we do will be done in a transparent manner for all applicants in that particular category. Even if we come up with any specific policy incentives, it will be open for all, and we will always try to ensure that it creates a level playing field for all entrants.
All right, that is the word coming in from the DPIIT Secretary. But with that, we'll get into a short break now. On the other side, we're talking all about the commodities and the big rise we've seen in crude prices. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. We've gone through the equity market action, so let's take a check on what's going on with the commodities. Manisha joins us with an update. Manisha, there's been quite a rise in crude prices overnight.
Yes, a 3% of up move what we've seen, and this is after the U.S. has announced a 10-nation Red Sea coalition against the Houthi attacks. Well, for the last couple of days, we've been watching this very keenly, and rising Houthi attacks via missiles and drones in Red Sea and on commercial tankers has been leading to premium building up in case of prices. Now, what has happened is that many of these oil companies and tankers have halted shipments via the Red Sea and has taken a longer route via Cape of Good Hope. The premium in sense of insurance also has been rising in these areas, and that has been building its way in case of prices also. Apart from that, Russia also has announced deeper oil export cuts in the month of December. There also is a storm in Russia which has led to suspension of uploading in that area. So various reasons really where you have seen a knee-jerk reaction come in for the prices. And that's exactly what has led to gains in gold as well. Some safe haven buying coming in there because of what's happening in Red Sea and Middle East, etc. So that premium also seems to have come in case of precious metals.
Okay, Manisha, thanks a lot for bringing us up to speed with what's really going on with the commodities. But moving on, here is some national news that we're tracking. 78 opposition MPs, 33 from the Lok Sabha and 45 from the Rajya Sabha, were suspended last evening for disrupting parliamentary proceedings. This is in addition to the 14 MPs suspended last week for causing a ruckus in the parliament. Remember, opposition parties were demanding Home Minister Amit Shah's statement on the security breach that we saw last week. And a total of 92 MPs have been suspended in this winter session so far, which is actually the highest ever in parliamentary history. So that is an update. But I also want to quickly bring you up to speed with what's going on with the weather situation now, because heavy rainfall continues to cause havoc in southern parts of Tamil Nadu. 3 people were killed in rain-related incidents. Many regions are battling severe flood-like situations. In fact, we've also seen extensive damage to crops and properties in the area. In 4 districts to be specific. Over 7,000 people living in low-lying areas have been shifted to relief centers already, and the rescue operations are being carried out by the Indian Navy and the Coast Guard using helicopters. In fact, the government has also requested for additional support from the NDRF. The Met Department has issued a red alert for various districts now, as heavy rainfall is likely to continue over the next 3 days as well. All right, so those are the visuals coming out of Tamil Nadu. But with that, we are going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast with the news that the Asian markets are in the red. The GIFT Nifty is absolutely flat. Thanks for tuning in. We have Bazaar Morning Call on the other side.
CNBC TV 18, embarking on a quarter century of excellence.